And so I picked up my mom at the train station, and got a rental car, and we're driving around, and nothing. And finally, I looked at my phone, and it was like, "Are you from Pat? Are you doing this or not?" What the hell is he talking about? And I look, and it's like, "Oh, yeah." So they didn't think Pat was going to be there on time. He got there at like 3:00 and 30 seconds. Jim was going to join by the 5:00 hour. Then his second flight got delayed. So he apparently was.
It's a miracle how lucky you've been with flights.
Now,
fortunately, you're not trying to get to places like Mobile.
Exactly.
But you've been pretty fortunate with your air travel over the past few years.
And the fact that for the college stuff, I can damn near drive to every game. That's why, things could really change for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I had the one flight this year.
Chicago and Detroit. Other than Penn State, you got Chicago and Detroit that are pretty centrally located to get to a lot of places.
Okay.
Still big airports. A little bit better in the north. Not much.
But also, I would have liked my flying options living in Fort Myers.
Oh. Minneapolis, Indianapolis, Chicago, Detroit. Yeah.
Much better than here.
Cleveland, if you had to, if it's not Columbus, but yeah.
Yeah, I had the one flight canceled when I woke up the Saturday morning. And ironically, I rearranged my schedule. Normally I fly Friday. And out of the blue, NFL radio called and said, "We need you." And so I moved my flight to Saturday morning and did the 3 to 7 show, and woke up at like 3 a.m. Saturday, and there was my phone saying, "Your flight's canceled." Oh, snap. And so that's when I drove to Knoxville. Yes, the annual pitchers and catchers reporting story.
So they can play catch.
Did the truck leave yet? Boston? The equipment truck leave yet? How the heck are you, Paul, Fam, Wancho, Johnny?
Holy cow.
What?
Your boy, Tim, was it Clisardis?
Mm-hmm.
Tweeted out the TV market undergone change in the past 3 years. Wow.
Yeah, that's...
Wow.
Yeah, that's
because you didn't know how to do a hurricane. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, it's more than that. But yeah, the only thing I will say is the two anchors that got ABC7 those ratings are no longer there.
Mm-hmm.
Fogelsong left.
And so did Butera.
And Butera left. So look at you.
Are you ready over there?
With the FGCU baseball opener. Look at you. By the way, they're top 3 in the A-Sun this year. Liberty's still the team to beat last year in the league. Did you see the tweet from Mid-Major Madness?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, they sent it out yesterday. They said FGCU was 10-6 in the A-Sun last year under Michael Fly.
Sorry.
What did it say?
Mid-Major Madness tweeted out FGCU was 10-6 in the A-Sun last year under Michael Fly. They're currently 4-6 this year. Ouch.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you. Final day of January. Hope your week got off to a good start yesterday. And how the heck are you? Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Is there enough gusto behind that? Last week you thought that I wasn't bringing the heat anymore.
That was high heat. I liked that. That had some oomph to it.
Right. That's what you said. You said I started lacking the oomph. And I said, you've been talking to my wife lately. But hey
now. Is this on? Okay.
Hello. So just wanted to make sure, to me, I feel like I'm, I can't bring it all the time anymore. But, 2 on, 1 out in the 7th. Trying to protect a 1-run lead. I got to reach back for the extra 3 to 5 miles an hour. For whatever reason, I felt final day of January. You know what? Let's reach back. Let's see what you got left.
I love it. Good to see that you can still bring the high heat when needed, David. Sometimes you got to be able to get the K, and we hopefully will have one today.
Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network. Thanks so much for being with us. Terrific show lined up. It's Tuesday. That means David Samson, Pat Kirwan, and Marcus found a guest. This guy, is he living like the American dream, our dream, your dream? I mean, this is a remarkable story you found.
Yeah, this guy wrote a book called Paired Up Golf, in which he traveled all 50 states playing munis and getting paired up with whomever he got paired up at said muni. And I just said to David, I caught a tweet on it, did a little reading. I said, "You interested?" And David's like, "Hell yes, I'm interested."
First off, have you been in all 50 states?
No.
All right.
I'm in the 30s.
Okay. If you take Alaska and Hawaii out of the equation, if we just do the 48 in the mainland, all right, the only state, I was thinking about this morning, I'm pretty sure the only state I haven't been to is Oregon. And was supposed to go for the U.S. Amateur a few years ago, and then Fox sold off their golf contract. And you, of course, vacation damn near every year with some buddies in Oregon. But that's it for me. Been everywhere.
Pretty impressive, David.
Well, yeah, unfortunately, a lot of sports traveling. But when you live in North Dakota, I mean, if you're in North Dakota, all of a sudden you go, listen, I don't know how long I'm going to be here, but while I'm here, I might as well take advantage of it. And so, you end up all of a sudden, you and a couple buddies, you go to Montana, went to Boise for some sports, went to South Dakota, obviously, so Mount Rushmore, the whole deal. Once you're there, you're a half an hour from Wyoming, basically. So, bada bing, bada boom. I mean, so, it just, that whole area all was because I was in Fargo.
Yeah, you did check off that upper Midwest quadrant there. And I'm actually happy to hear you say that, because I never knew you were in Montana until this moment. And I, raising up some dental floss, but you got it done. And I'm just impressed that you made that trip being there, because you and I both know we can get landlocked pretty easy into our routine and not travel 5 miles outside of our homes.
But yeah, I was early 30s. So, I was very optimistic about life, Mark. I was going to fulfill my dreams. Now I realize it's over. So, okay, that's fine. You did what I could do.
But now we just have to get you to Oregon.
Yes. And you know what? I would like to do Alaska. And technically I have family there. I have distant cousins there. All right. I would like to do Alaska, would like to do Oregon. Tell you what, I'll make a vow. All right. When they get an expansion baseball franchise, I will go. I will go at whatever stage of my life is, and I'll make sure that, I'll take in a Seattle game, and then I'll take in a Portland game, and, what have you. Make a 4-dayer out of it.
There you go. Look at that. Little baseball vacation. That was actually, I had a good college friend, and we had mapped it out of trying to do X number of ballparks.
Mm-hmm.
It never happened. It never came to fruition. This thing called money seemingly got in the way once again, David.
It does a lot.
The plan was fantastic. We were actually going to start leave, go to Detroit, go to Toronto, catch a Buffalo Bison game in AAA, and then work our way down that way.
Oh, man, now you're talking. Remember when Buffalo was going to get a Major League Baseball team? They were like drawing 1 million people, and it was like, they should get a Major League team. And the rest of us were like, I don't know. It seemed as if in April, a lot of games would be snowed out. No.
In fact, I think they drew over 2 million one year to their minor league ballpark. And it was a consecutive, in the millions year after year after year after year.
Right. You had Louisville and Buffalo there like a generation ago. They were each drawing over 1 million people to come see their AAA baseball. So anyway, so I was thinking about it this morning when I knew we were going to have Jeremy Wilson on. He's the author, paired up at the Muni, and I think I'm at 47 states. Now, don't get me wrong. Some of them I was in for an hour and a half.
Ooh. So do you count, a layover in an airport as being in that state?
No, I do. No. Airports don't count.
Okay,
no.
They don't count.
No, you have to be on the soil. The airports don't count.
Because, for instance, I've never been to Maryland. I've flown into Baltimore, made a connection, but that doesn't count in my book.
Interesting. Haven't been to Maryland, huh? Never would have thought that. Because I'm thinking you've been to D.C.
No, I have not.
Wow.
I went to a small Catholic school. They didn't do the trip that every 8th grader in America got to do.
Right. The big history trip.
Yeah, I did not do that.
Oh,
my school did not have that trip.
Oh, wow.
So we're actually going it looks like we're going this summer. We're planning a little family vacation in which we're going to go to DC. We're actually going to go to Maryland with my in-laws and then finish it up in Pittsburgh with my mother-in-law. But yeah, so I'm going to check off a couple of boxes this summer, it looks like.
Let me tell you, DC in the summer is lovely. And by lovely, I mean hot and humid. So good luck.
So's everywhere.
Well, that's true. You live in Southwest Florida, so it'll just feel like a Tuesday. That's true. But so Felipe, that's a goal. That's a goal. Try to check off as many of them as you can. And you're young. You don't have any money yet. You don't even have credit yet. So you're off the hook. Okay. But, us 50-year-olds got to start checking them off.
Yep, running out of time.
Got to start checking them off. So I'm curious, by the way, 21,000. What number yet? And if you've been to Hawaii and Alaska, awesome, great, include that.
I know it's not all 50 states, but one thing I've always wanted to do was see every Major League Baseball park.
Okay, there you go.
So that would boost my number.
Where you guys are in Southwest Florida, in Estero to be exact, there's a gentleman who plays the trumpet. He, I think a year or so ago, he had a goal of playing the national anthem in all major league ballparks, and he finally achieved that goal. So, and he's also done, the anthem at FGCU games and what have you. But so that was his goal, kind of like this guy. Wanted to play around the golf in all 50 states. Pulled it off. So, no, by the way, a meal, to me, means I've been there. You've stopped long enough, you had a meal. If you drove in, you pulled over, you had a meal. Not got gas. That doesn't count. No. I'm talking about feet on the ground, butt sitting on something. You're dining. You're talking to the locals. All right. At least an hour and a half. Where am I? You're in Laramie, Wyoming. Hot damn. Cool. That sort of deal.
That's
meal, I think, constitutes. Meal. Yes.
That's fair.
I would have thought overnight. Like, you're a little more generous than I am, like a stay over. But I like your qualifications there. I can go with that.
Because if you're on, say, 1,000-mile drive, and so you pull over, and then you'll drive through the rest of the state. But does that count? That's like being at the airport. Does it count if your butt's in the seat and you drove through Kansas? Because no one stops in Kansas. I mean, once you cross the one border, first off, you feel as if you can see the other. That's how flat it is. Okay, so you just keep driving. You're like, well, I mean, I can see the sign that says, welcome to Colorado right there. I mean, that's how it feels. So to me, a meal constitutes, you've been there. You did something.
Good enough. And you and I both love a meal.
Well, yes.
We could drive to another state just for a meal.
Right. Now, drive-through doesn't count, by the way. Okay? Hitting them McDonald's, and then continuing to drive in your car, no. You've got to stop. You have to talk to somebody more than that'll be $7.38. You need to walk into a place where they're selling something that represents the state, if you know what I mean.
And not at a Cracker Barrel either. That's all I can think of is what you're buy something. I'm at some knickknacks store. Where am I at? I'm at a Cracker Barrel.
Well, technically, though, it does qualify. All right. You're having a meal.
I got you.
Right? You are talking to some of the locals, and some of the knickknacks in that Cracker Barrel are probably, local, vendors and what have you. So I don't know. I'll appeal that. Okay. We'll go to an arbiter and appeal whether or not stopping at a Cracker Barrel in Casper counts.
If you played a Muni, it definitely counts.
Absolutely. I mean, that's even if you play fast. I mean, by the time you check in at tea time, I mean, that's got to be 4 hours, right? At least 3.5. So I love it.
But a good show lined up today. David Samson in his usual spot. Pat Kirwan as well in his spot. And Jeremy Wilson to talk about his book, Paired Up Golf. That will come in the 7 o'clock hour. So we look forward to getting to all of those things as well. 21,000 is the text line. David wanted to know how many states you've been in.
Yeah.
Just to get us going, get you up and at 'em and part of the show, contributing a little bit.
Right. Come on, get the brain moving. This Jeremy Wilson guy played around the golf in all 50 states. Just how many of them have you even been in? Driving through doesn't count. Your feet had to have been on the ground. Airports don't count. Driving through in a car doesn't count.
So there you have it. 21,000 is the number. We're Miller and Moulton. We thank you so much for listening. The starting 25 minutes away right here on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Life, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Life is supported with the help of local partners like Zeffy's Tavern and Pizzeria at 41 and Wiggins Pass. Award-winning pizza with a cool rock and roll theme. Don't miss North Naples' newest sensation, Zeffy's Tavern and Pizzeria. When it's time to leave, book with the award-winning service for Naples Daily News Best of 2021. 250-mile radius, live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Serving a 250-mile radius of Southwest Florida over 15 airports. Salt Life Transportation, the official transportation of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show. Book now, 239-308-8686, or online at saltlifetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Man, I ran some hoops yesterday for the first time in months. It was awesome.
Yes, KW. Stopping for a meal. But can't be a drive-through, though. Had to get out of the car. You had to walk into a place. You had to sit down. You had to speak to someone from the state.
I think the Cracker Barrel counts as well because likely the Cracker Barrel is going to sell you're going to see the
Of
nearest
course it counts. I was being facetious.
nearest university apparel.
No, Cracker Barrel didn't sell university stuff.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, they sell Florida Gators, FSU shirts.
Do they? I
Yeah.
haven't been to a Cracker Barrel in 15 years, so I'm the wrong guy to ask.
The Cracker Barrel down the street sells.
It counts, Felipe. I was being facetious because it's a chain restaurant like a McDonald's, and I think they suck ass. Okay,
Cracker
that's
Barrel?
yes.
Cracker Barrel does suck.
That I hate chains. That's all.
Yeah.
I hate. My point was, if you're going to be in a place, to go to a local restaurant where locals go, not a Cracker Barrel that's full of tourists and old people. That's all.
Dude, Cracker Barrel is so overrated. I think a Buc-ee's counts. You can sit down in a Buc-ee's.
I'm actually only at 31. I had to recount it. Got a lot of work to do. I've driven through Delaware, but if that doesn't count in David's world, it doesn't count.
I spent nearly a week at Rehoboth Beach. It's at the southern tip of Delaware. Do you know, Adam, I've never been to a Buc-ee's.
What? You
I
of all
know. I've never been in my travels. I only started seeing them this fall for the first time. Signs for them and what have you. I'm like, what?
They're coming. They already are. There's one in Florida, but they're coming.
It's just another glorified Wawa that everybody gets all excited about.
Oh no, it's a giant Wawa.
Oh, great.
Apparently a Buc-ee's is like damn near a Target. They're so big.
Yeah, I
Yes.
got you. But I mean, I was told Wawa is the greatest thing in the world. I had a sandwich there. I'm like, it's a gas station. It's not good. It's not terrible.
I love Wawa. Big Wawa guy. We're coming back.
I got something here.
Good.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"21 minutes past the hour, top of the morning to you. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Starting 5. What went on in the sports world yesterday? Coming up in a little more than 15 minutes' time, David Samson to join us in the top of the hour. Pat Kirwan at the top of the 8 o'clock hour. He's at the Senior Bowl in Mobile, Alabama. I came upon something last night, and I don't think in all the years, over 15, that we've been doing a show together, and for the nearly 25 years that we've known one another and have talked about seemingly every sports issue under the sun, I don't think we've ever talked about this. How much the referees in college basketball work. and whether or not it's affecting officiating. John Higgins is one of the best college basketball officials, and he works a lot, always has. But they put on the screen last night, all right, John Higgins' schedule for like the next, well, for this week. So he did the Baylor Texas game last night in Austin.
Right.
Okay. So today he's going to go to New Brunswick, New Jersey and do Rutgers. Then he's going to fly, I'm assuming, first thing Wednesday morning to San Diego and do either a USD or a San Diego State game Wednesday night. Then, I'm assuming Thursday morning, he's going to fly to Portland, get in a rental car, and drive to Corvallis and do an Oregon State game. Then he's going to get a day off because Saturday he's doing the Stanford game. The Stanford game is going to end at midnight Eastern, Saturday night. He's doing the noon game Sunday at Purdue. He's doing 6 games in 7 days. Texas to Jersey to San Diego to Oregon to California to Indiana.
Anybody think there might be a referee shortage?
Right.
I mean, first off, the conferences hire these guys.
Correct.
Which means he's working for damn near every conference in the country.
Well, let's see. Big 12.
Bingo.
Big 10. I'm assuming San Diego State. So we'll do Mountain West. So that's Big 12, Big 10, Mountain West, Pac-12, and then back at the Big 10.
Big 10.
So the 6 games are in 4 different conferences. Like I said, he's one of the best. Everybody wants to get their hands on him.
I got you. We have an official. We and I have talked about this fact even at the local level. I have a friend who's helped run the high school football officials in this area for quite a while. And when we were just local, we actually put a plea out and gave the phone number and said, hey, they need refs. They still do for every high school sport under the sun, which means that they then need refs for just about every college sport under the sun. And we wonder why officiating's poor.
And actually, the Texas game ended the 6 games in 7-day thing. So it ended last night. So it started a week ago tonight. Started in Jersey with Rutgers. Then he went San Diego. Then he went Corvallis. Day off. Stanford game ends midnight Eastern. He had 12 hours to get to West Lafayette, Indiana. All right. He did the Purdue game. All right. I'm assuming he got into Texas Sunday night. You know, maybe even got in a swim and a workout yesterday. Did the Baylor Texas game last night. That's your 6 games in 7 days, John Higgins schedule right there. Now you get paid by game, and every conference pays differently, although, you know, the big boys all try to pay roughly the same. This way you've got all the good refs that want to work in your conference, as opposed to, I don't want to do your games. You pay $1,000 less than they do.
1,000 less, like they're getting 1,000 a game.
No. But I'm just saying,
I know, because I don't.
But anyway,
the reason he's working this many games is to make as much money as he can during basketball season.
But to give you an idea as to how little money they make, John Higgins works the AAU circuit in the late spring and in the summer. And he has given interviews saying, well, I mean, kind of need the money. I mean, the basketball season's about 4 or 5 months long. I mean, I don't make enough money in those 4 or 5 months to not work the rest of the year. So there you have it. Little 6 games in 7 days there. John Higgins, the referee. 4 different conferences.
No load management for him.
No, this is not sitting out a game in Brooklyn on a Monday so you can play in a game in Manhattan on Tuesday. And by Manhattan, And we don't mean Manhattan, Kansas either. We mean
No.
just the borough over. Right.
Take a bridge or a tunnel, whichever you choose. You can get there in a hurry.
Well, I don't know about a hurry.
Well,
I mean, you know,
I got
traffic and all, but yes.
But a lot quicker than you get to Manhattan, Kansas.
I mean, it is funny when you try to travel to a major city. Wow, we're only 3.25 miles away. How long is it going to take? An hour and 12 minutes. Right. So, would you do that, by the way? Like, does that interest you? Like, I'm guessing Felipe's eyes lit up and he thinks it'd be the. In fact, Felipe, I'm a little surprised with your love of basketball. Have you ever tried officiating?
No. And I don't know if I want to officiate or coach more. Is it possible to do both?
Absolutely. Because they need both at the youth level. You'd be hired almost instantly to be reffing games. They'd put you through whatever little schooling they have to do and get you out there because they don't have enough people.
Now, Felipe, I will say both jobs you get yelled at by the fans / parents.
Oh, I don't care about all that.
You
can't yell back, Felipe.
Oh, no, that's exactly why I don't care, because I will literally just be like, okay, ball in.
The only good thing about coaching versus officiating is that in coaching, you then get to yell at the players. Okay. Officiating, you really can only yell at the coaches and players so much. Then they stop asking you to work. Although I have to admit, I do love those old 80s and 90s NBA refs, in the Daryl Garrettsons of the world, in which they just gave it right back. And, shut up and rebound. You know, Garrettson would say, why don't you play a little defense? You know, there you go. Do you imagine a Barstool official, you know, with that attitude? For goodness sakes, I let you take 4 steps driving to the lane. Shut up.
Yeah, I'd like to see how well young Felipe could bite his tongue when he blows a call, because you inevitably will. You're not going to be perfect at that job. It's a hard job. And a bunch of parents all over Felipe and him staying quiet.
I don't care.
Uh-huh.
Now, I will say, like, I lit him up last week during a commercial break about something, and he took it. All right. He even chuckled. Okay. So who knows? Maybe he's got the perfect temperament. You suck, you and maybe he's one of those guys who can just laugh it off and go, man, you're an idiot.
Right up until one of the coaches says your girlfriend runs your show. And then it would be I could get to him in 4 seconds.
Triple technicals. Okay. Throws him and the lead assistant out. The whole deal.
You know, a goal of mine has been to tee someone up. It's been a dream of mine, really, to assess a technical foul to someone with a finger technique.
Maybe that's your calling, Felipe. Maybe that's your calling. We need more refs out there.
Boy, do we ever.
Miller and Moulton. Starting 5 coming up on the other side. We thank you so much for listening right here on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Life, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Life is supported with the help of local partners like Zeffy's Tavern and Pizzeria at 41 and Wiggins Pass. Award-winning pizza with a cool rock and roll theme. Don't miss North Naples' newest sensation, Zeffy's Tavern and Pizzeria. When it's time to leave, book with the award-winning service for Naples Daily News Best of 2021. 250-mile radius, live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Serving a 250-mile radius of Southwest Florida over 15 airports. Salt Life Transportation, the official transportation of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show. Book now, 239-308-8686 or online at saltlifetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Fam, that was a funny comment.
I've got Jeremy Wilson paired up with the Muni.
Yes.
Okay.
At the bottom of his bio, at the bottom of his little thing, he's got a quick bio. It says, I'm 32 years old, but my hairline is 52. I live in Nashville. I prefer a 3-wood over a driver. My miss is a smother hook left. Now, KW, when you get a couple of snook, you can catch one, fillet it, and bring it down before anybody notices. That would be ideal. I'm just kidding, FWC.
What was that? No, what? Huh? Snook is so good.
We had a do you remember when Joe Scott was doing his morning show with that crazy bunch of characters in here?
Mm-hmm.
You had Captain Windy and you had all those. And I remember I said one day I like snook. I've never caught a legal snook to eat, and I've always wanted one. 3 days later, Windy comes, knocks on my door. Hey, come here. He's got one in a bucket.
Wow.
Here you go. All flavor. Not in season. Nah.
No. Okay.
Hey.
Can't do anything about it now.
It's gone now. We'll have it for dinner now.
Thank you. Cocks, jocks, and stocks. He heard me on Stan and Haney talking about my wife's first hip replacement and how she got the oxy and she was high as a kite for 3 days, and she handed me the oxy and said, don't let me take any more of these or else it'll be over. And so the segment ends and I'm walking out, and as I walk out, he's right there and he goes, hey, she still got those oxy? I go, yeah, they're at home. He goes, we could sell those and make a lot of money. I go, well, it's illegal, I'm just, he's like, well, I'll do it. We can split it. I'm like, it's okay.
Wouldn't have had to leave the building.
No. No.
Would not have had to leave the building.
No, God almighty. If you just hit the offices alone, you would have been able to sell the bottle. Wouldn't have had to go to the sales desk, just the offices. Oh, fam, I haven't officiated in 30 years, but it was horrendous then, the fan behavior.
Here we go.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour, David Samson joins us at the top of the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Pat Kirwan to join us at the top of the 8 o'clock hour. Mark, a lot went on yesterday. I got a bunch of wings. I don't know if any of them are huge, but I got a bunch of like medium, meaty wings here. So I'm going to throw it out at you. You stop me when you want to comment about stuff, all right?
I'm in.
Time now for
the starting five.
Tee 'em up.
Stories you need to know. It's the starting five on Miller and Moulton. Here's number one.
Is that a delay of game?
Five
That's a 10-second right. Didn't get it across midcourt in time right there.
Yep. Delay of game.
Absolutely. That's a turnover. Brock Purdy, turns out that wasn't just, a little stinger, nerve damage. No, he tore his UCL in his right elbow. He's going to miss 6 months minimum. Do the math. That's the end of July. So if everything goes well, he's kind of sort of ready early in camp.
Maybe.
You know what this is going to lead to? A whole bunch of Brady to Niners rumors. That's what it's going to lead to. Chargers hired Kellen Moore. They didn't let him leave the building because if he did, he apparently was flying to Tampa to interview and probably be offered the Bucs offensive coordinator job. So he's going to go work with Justin Herbert. If you're Kellen Moore, you think you made an upgrade at quarterback going from Dak to Herbert?
Just a bit.
Salary cap, by the way, went up 8%. Far less than I thought it was going, Mark. I thought it was going up 15%. Went up 8%, $16.6 million extra. The cap's going to be $224.8. So basically just think $225 million. That's the salary cap. And if you've read an article in the last couple of weeks about your team's cap projections, most of those articles were written with a cap projection at around 220. So this is nearly $5 million more than that. So do your math accordingly. Tampa Bay is still $50 million over the cap for what it's worth. Eagles now officially mark a 2-point favorite in the Super Bowl. We've had 56 Super Bowls. The favorites have won 39 of the 56 straight up. Forget the spread. Just, if you're favored, basically more than 2 out of every 3 times you win the game. We go NHL next. Bobby Hull passed away yesterday at the age of 84. Quite the complicated, fascinating hockey player and man. Nicknamed the Golden Jet, he scored over 600 goals in the NHL, but he also scored another 300 plus in the WHA. Officially, he scored 913 goals, which is nearly 20 more than Gretzky. He also led the hockey players getting paid because he was the first guy to break away from the NHL and go to the WHA. And he signed a 10-year contract for $2 million. That's right. $2 million over 10 years, but he got $1 million of it up front. And it blew up the hockey world. And there were a couple others that defected, but Bobby Hull was the guy that ultimately led to A, hockey players starting to get paid, and B, since he stayed in the WHA, it led to expansion at the end of the 70s in Winnipeg and Edmonton and a few others joining the NHL. Off the ice, he was a mess.
He was not a good person.
No.
There's no two ways to say it. And Chicago has an interesting dilemma here. of how they're going to handle recognizing Bobby Hull because of all of the things that have gone on in Chicago with the sexual abuse and the different things that have happened there. They kept him on as an ambassador up until basically a year ago.
Correct.
They got to walk a fine line here.
He was accused by 2 of his wives of physically abusing them. He made comments publicly that were not very flattering about people of color. He also said Hitler had a bunch of good ideas. He just went a little too far. Okay. Quite the complicated, fascinating player in person, but Bobby Hull, the Golden Jet, who led the Blackhawks to the 62 title, died yesterday at the age of 84. There was a major hockey trade yesterday. Maybe this starts the trades going. Bo Horvat, who's a 27-year-old center who's already scored 30 goals this year for Vancouver, got traded to the Islanders for 2 players and a first-round pick. So we'll see if that leads to a little something.
Funniest tweet I saw about that was that the Islanders did this move long enough so that when they're out of it in a month, they can deal them again.
Well, it's possible. Winnipeg, by the way, doubled up St. Louis 4-2. The Blues have lost 10 straight. They will be sellers.
Blues were up 2-0 when the third period started in that game as well.
Good night in the NBA last night. There were 8 games, and 7 of them were decided by 10 or less. The Orlando Magic went to Philly, trailed by 21 in the first quarter against the Sixers, came back and beat them by 10. By the way, Embiid and Harden played, okay? They beat the Sixers, if you know what I mean.
And came back from 21 to do it.
119-109 Orlando. They're actually 4 games out of the play-in. Now, I don't think they'll make it, but still, I just want to say that. The Orlando Magic are 4 out of the play-in.
Bet they wish they were in the West right now.
Yeah, I got that right. The Lakers with no LeBron, no AD. That's okay. Brooklyn didn't have KD, but Kyrie played. And so they beat the Lakers 121-104. Luka with 53. Dallas got by Detroit by 6.
Well,
Mark,
one little thing in that one. I don't get this. The Pistons assistant coach decided to talk smack to Luka like when the game started. He had 24 in the first quarter. Why wouldn't you just shut up at that point?
I don't understand.
I mean, you're the assistant coach, for chirping in the first place is something you shouldn't be doing.
You chirp at Luka, he's going to
Right.
chirp back with his game and his mouth.
It's 53. Shut.
I was going to say you can get fired by third quarter. Head coach could turn around and fire you.
You're an assistant coach for the Pistons. They're a grease fire. Just shut up and watch the guy play, for crying out loud.
There for no reason.
Washington had last won in San Antonio during the Clinton administration. It was December of 99, the last time the Wizards had beaten the Spurs in San Antonio. They'd lost 22 in a row until last night. They whooped them by 21. Wiz have won 6 straight. Sacramento, Golden State, Phoenix, and Portland were your other winners. College hoops, Purdue, we said they were probably going to be unanimous number 1. Guess what? Both polls, they were unanimous number 1. Tennessee 2, Houston 3. And then Bama, Virginia, they're 4-5. Flip them in, the polls. FAU, highest ranked Florida team, 19 in the AP, 20 in the coaches. The Owls are 21-1, same record as Purdue. Thank you very much. Miami still ranked in both polls, 23 in the AP, 21 in the coaches. 6th ranked Virginia got by Syracuse by 5 last night. 10th ranked Texas by 5 over 11th ranked Baylor. By the way, 6 of the top 15 in both polls from the Big 12. Mark, one of those teams, though, was Iowa State. And they had a 17-point halftime lead at Texas Tech, and the Red Raiders had not won a conference game all year. And they came back and won in overtime, 80-77.
There are bad losses, and then there are losing to Texas Tech losses. That's horrible.
That knocked Iowa State out of a tie for first in the Big 12. In-state, Bethune-Cookman beat Alabama A&M and FAMU by 11 over Alabama State. Women's hoops, unbeaten South Carolina remains the unanimous number 1. Unbeaten LSU, though, is number 3. Florida State's 23, and South Florida enters the AP poll for the first time at 25. Bethune-Cookman won last night. The Gators and FAMU lost. Did you see the ACC release their football schedule last night? So it's a 4-year format where there are no divisions, 13 games, if you will, that amongst the 14 teams. Here's the format: 3-5-5. Every school has 3 primary teams they play every year. Then the remaining 10 teams, we split them up. All right, over the 4-year period, you'll play home and away twice. So that's how the ACC. So they're staying, Mark, with an 8-game ACC schedule. They didn't go to 9. They're just staying with 8. 3 primary, and then 5 home, 5 away amongst the other 10 over a 4-year period of time. No divisions. Top 2 teams based on winning percentage will play in the ACC championship game. For what it's worth, neither Miami nor Florida State will play Notre Dame in football this year. Florida State goes to Clemson 4th Saturday in September. So Florida State at Clemson is September 23rd. Clemson visits Miami, for those of you that may want to get tickets, on October 21st. And the Canes are at the Knolls November 11th. Some highlights from the ACC schedule. By the way, Florida State begins their season with LSU. Once again, this year the game's in Orlando. The Canes will host Miami of Ohio Labor Day weekend. Mark, you're not going to believe this, but a Miami Marlin is on the cover of MLB The Show 23.
I saw that.
Jazz Chisholm, who is an exciting player. He's got some flair, okay? To date us, okay? He's got some charisma. He's on the cover of MLB The Show 23. Hot damn. Speaking of the Marlins, they made a trade yesterday. They sent Richard Blyer to the Red Sox for righty reliever Matt Barnes. They got the Red Sox to pick up half of Barnes' contract. The interesting sub-note there is Blyer pitched at FGCU. The Red Sox current pitching rotation has 3 FGCU pitchers in it. All 3 FGCU arms that are in the show now are with the Red Sox.
And for those of you in Tampa, St. Pete, and Lake City, that's Florida Gulf Coast University located in Fort Myers.
Right, which is also where the Red Sox have spring training.
There you go.
Speaking of Tampa, St. Pete, so it looks like this is it. The mayor of St. Pete held a presser yesterday. President of the Rays was there. Plans were officially unveiled, Mark, for a new ballpark for the Rays near the current one. Massive redevelopment project, office spaces, affordable housing, retail, and a new domed stadium that will be built and ready for the 2028 season. Okay, there's one little fly in the ointment. Nobody has discussed how we're paying for it yet.
Glad you said that, because my only question was, who's paying for it, David?
Mark, it just, listen, it's a minor detail, all right? I'm sure we could just sit, have lunch, with a nice view somewhere, and I'm sure we can resolve this in no time. I mean, what are we talking about? A couple, $2-3 here? I mean, really shouldn't be a problem. I mean, a domed stadium, office spaces, affordable housing, retail shops, knocking down the current building. Here's my, I do have a question about this, if anybody's in the construction business. So obviously they got to keep the current place up.
Bingo.
So they're going to build around it. And then what do? You knock it down? Doesn't that make every new place you just built dirty as heck? Never mind if there's a problem and maybe the old place falls on the new place. But I don't know. But once again, Mark, just one little detail. That's all we're missing. This is all about ready to happen.
Sure it is.
Just have no idea how it's going to be paid for, who's paying what. Let me get this straight. The folks in St. Petersburg probably don't want to contribute a dime, and neither do the Rays. Well, that should close the gap.
And I know the state's handing out money left and right for new stadium projects.
Tell you what, if I were the Rays and the mayor of St. Pete, I'd find a way to, I don't know, name it DeSantis Dome or something. I mean, I'd start sucking up now. 8 minutes before the hour. That was
the Starting Five every weekday morning at this time on Miller and Moulton.
I will say, when the owner of the Rays wasn't at the event, okay, I thought to myself, But the mayor of St. Pete, there were like 2 or 3 other, projects that were presented in the whole deal. He chose this one. So this is the one that the mayor of St. Pete is saying, this is the one I support. I want to do it in that neighborhood. I grew up in that neighborhood. He's the first African-American mayor of St. Petersburg. That's a predominantly African-American neighborhood that was gutted by the building of the dome, actually. So be curious whether or not this goes through. David Samson. They talk about this, but we'll talk about a lot of other stuff with him next.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Life, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Life is supported with the help of local partners like Zeppi's Tavern and Pizzeria at 41 and Wiggins Pass. Award-winning pizza with a cool rock and roll theme. Don't miss North Naples' newest sensation, Zeppi's Tavern and Pizzeria. When it's time to leave, book with the award-winning service for Naples Daily News Best of 2021. 250-mile radius, live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Serving a 250-mile radius of Southwest Florida over 15 airports. Salt Life Transportation, the official transportation of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show. Book now, 239-308-8686, or online at saltlifetransportation.com.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, since training will boost clubhead speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
You know, it's sad because in the first commercial for the new MLB The Show game, they obviously show Jazz Chisholm highlights. And every single hit that he has in Marlins Park is just empty seats in the background.
Tradition unlike any other.
Yep.
Good morning, David.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing well. How about yourself?
I'm well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's our pleasure.
I did not realize until you tweeted out, and I will probably bring this up again when we go on the air. I did not realize that you were born in and that your early life was spent in Milwaukee.
Yes.
So when I saw how hard the Cindy Williams death hit you, I was like, wow.
It's every day now that people from my childhood are dying, which just means I used to be on deck and now I'm at the fucking plate. That's the only issue.
Yes, sir. I'm aware. There was a great Sopranos episode where they go do a deal on the side of the building. He was doing it with a black guy, and he just looked at because his dad had died, and he just looks at him and he goes, "They're at the funeral," and he just looks and he goes, "There was a time when we were all coming up, and now we're the one next in line." And I just remember that scene going, "Ooh, that's so dark," and how they put that together. Two criminals dealing with mortality. But you're right.
At some point, I've got to watch The Sopranos, just not this point. I've never done it.
It was really good.
Remember when you're a Milwaukee kid and you see Happy Days and Laverne and Shirley? Happy Days, one of the coolest shows ever, and it's in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It just, and I moved out of there. Little piece of trivia that I won't say on the air. I'm the first kid who was shipped out of Wisconsin as part of a divorce. The first one. There was a judge made a ruling that I was allowed to leave Wisconsin with my mother to go to New York at 4, but I had to fly back to Milwaukee every time there was an off day from school. So I was flying back and forth, like on Columbus Day weekend, I would go to Milwaukee as a first grader just for the weekend. It's a landmark child divorce case.
Oh, my son had to do a lot of that. I feel for you.
It was something.
Did you grow up a Brewers fan?
I ended up marrying the daughter of the team doctor for the Brewers. So I met Bud Selig when I was 17 years old, and he was the owner of the Brewers about 13 years before I got into baseball. We weren't allowed to talk to him, only if spoken to.
And of course, that leads to the very sarcastic, nasty line. Did anything change when he was commissioner? But you know,
I felt more comfortable going up to him. That's for sure. Oh, God, you guys are funny.
Well, Bud played a little role in our lives. We were leading the surge to bring the Cubs spring training to Naples. And it looked as if it was actually happening. And literally at the 11th hour, Bud and John McCain picked up the phone and called the owners of the Cubs and says, "You really don't want this to be the first major thing you do as owners of the Cubs." And next thing you know, the deal with Naples, which was done, fell apart.
That means it was basically done.
10 seconds. All right, here we go.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thrilled to be joined once again by David Samson, he of the daily podcast, Nothing Personal with David Samson. It's done live at 8 a.m. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Then it's just taped as live on Tuesdays and Thursdays. You can follow David on Twitter, David P. Samson, David, the letter P, Samson. Top of the morning to you. How are you?
It is always good when it's a Tuesday and I'm with you guys in the morning.
Now, listen, I did not realize until I saw your tweet last night that you are in a little bit of mourning over the passing of Cindy Williams. Did not fully understand the relationship that she and the state had in your life.
So I was born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I lived there till I was 4. And I spent all my summers in Milwaukee. I went to summer camp in Eagle River, Wisconsin, which is northern Wisconsin. I went to college in Madison, Wisconsin. But you have to go back to the 70s. And when you're hearing Schlemiel, Schlemazel, Haas and Pfeffer Incorporated, and you look at women doing it their way. And then that follows the Fonz, also from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. You get an amazing connection, not just full of pride, but full of wonderment of what you can be as someone from Milwaukee. So they were a big part of forming my life, actually, that hour of television.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I'm just thinking back as you're giving that answer. I thought Milwaukee was cool. It was the coolest hour of TV. As a little kid, there was nothing cooler than the Fonz. So if he was from Milwaukee, then that was cool. To the rest of us, I'm guessing, obviously, it was a huge source of pride.
Just think about what you're saying, right? Short of the Fonz, what would be your reaction to Milwaukee? My guess is you'd associate it with beer, right? It was the beer capital. They manufactured Miller and Pabst Blue Ribbon and all sorts of beer stuff. But as a kid, that's not all that meaningful to you, though you see the Bob Uecker commercials and I must be in the front row. But there was something about Laverne and Shirley, and we talk about gender equality and all the things that are going on in the 2020s. Just remember what was going on with Laverne and Shirley. You didn't mess with them. And they had Lenny and Squiggy sort of as the foils, who were the weak men, versus Laverne and Shirley, these strong, great women. And it's just sad to me that the way time passes and every day it just seems that someone else is passing away. One of my least favorite parts of the Oscars, and I love the Oscars and I love movies, is the in memoriam, because I spend half the time saying, crikeys, I forgot that one died. And so you relive it again and realize how many people are just going every year. So carpe diem, guys.
Cindy Williams, by the way, passed away. It turns out she passed away a few days ago, but it became public yesterday at the age of 75. Shirley, for those of you that don't know, on Laverne and Shirley. You sent out a tweet during the NFC Championship that said, "This is embarrassing for the NFL." Baseball in the playoffs adds 2 umpires down the lines. I'm wondering, if you were Roger Goodell, would you add some officials to the playoffs so that in theory the potential blind spots on the field that maybe you always have near the goal line in the back of the end zone, I don't know, maybe have 10, 12 guys for the playoffs and 4 or 5 of them don't move?
One of my favorite things about the extra umpires in the playoffs is that the left and right field umpire play about 10 feet behind the first and third base umpires. So when you're watching the game, you see them just sort of standing behind each other. And I spoke to MLB about their positioning, and they like to see for the ball going over the bag and going fair foul right, 20 feet past the bag. But I want them out there for outfield and for curving and foul pull, etc. But what I was talking about that was embarrassing was not just the refereeing. For me, when you've got instant replay and the ability to get the calls right, that's what it's there for. And that goes for the LeBron James, Jason Tatum foul call. We want to get calls right. Umpires want to get calls right. And in the NFL, you have an opportunity to change a game more so than in any other sport. You throw a Hail Mary, if there's a PI, it's a spot foul, and all of a sudden the game can change. The defensive hold on the 8th third down that Kansas City had, these things can change games, and I don't want referees to change games. I don't think it's right. And I also think it's embarrassing that they don't have a third quarterback. And I just would tell you that 3 quarterbacks used to be okay. They used to be able to suit up an emergency quarterback. And in the last collective bargaining agreement, they stopped that. And San Francisco had no one to throw the ball. And that's embarrassing in an NFC championship as well.
There's no doubt. I want to just get to one part of what you said. They want to get the call right. Are you sure? Because we can get strikes and balls right with the computer system right now, and we don't do it. I still think that there's deep down a part of it that they like the human element. They like the mistakes because it fuels sports talk radio and gets their sport talked about. I'm not completely convinced they want to get every call right, David.
When you're saying they, are you talking the commissioner's office or are you talking umpires?
The commissioner's office.
That's a great subtle point. So it is good talk radio when this happens, except there's going to be, my view, there's going to be talk radio every day, 3 to 4 hours a morning, every show. And they're going to talk about what there is to talk about. If you don't have bad calls to talk about, you're not going to sit here staring at David, are you? In total silence? You're going to find other things to talk about that you will make interesting because of your level of skill. So their view really is they don't want you talking about bad calls because it's embarrassing and it goes to the competitive integrity of the games and the leagues. And with all the gambling money, they really don't want that, which is why I think you're going to see changes in terms of refereeing in both the NFL, NBA, and also Major League Baseball.
Quickly, what kinds of changes?
I think you're going to see a change in how we do replay. So I was on the competition committee in Major League Baseball when instant replay was starting. And John Scherholtz, who really is the father of replay, sat in a meeting and looked at us and said, this is not meant to freeze frame a foot off the base for a quarter second and have a tag continue to be applied to the foot and then have that call changed on instant replay. I'm talking about a steal of second when the foot comes off the base for 1 second and he's safe, but then the foot's off for a second and then he's out. So the umpire goes safe and then out. And John said, we don't want that. And we pushed back and said, yes, we do, because he's off the base, which means he's out. So therefore, if we're going to call a player out for not being attached to a base, you have to have replay that helps you do that. And you've seen that's the way it is now. So players adjust, sliding adjusts. And now there's new rules this year about number of pickoff attempts, which is going to help the running game. My point is the games evolve. Everything evolves. And instant replay needs to evolve to a place where it's faster. I draw your attention to tennis. Where it's always right. I draw your attention to tennis. And the technology is there to do it quickly, and the leagues need to do it.
David Samson, his daily podcast is Nothing Personal with David Samson. You can follow him on Twitter at David P. Samson, David the letter P. Samson. A couple of quick baseball things. How significant is it for the Marlins that they have a 23-year-old player that Major League Baseball wants to put on the cover of MLB The Show 23 and Jazz Chisholm?
I think I'm going to lead Nothing Personal with this today, which I'm going to do right after this show. So as president of the Marlins, it was my dream. I wanted all-stars. I wanted Silver Sluggers, Gold Glovers, anything that we could celebrate, anything that we could market, because we had a hard time winning after 2003. So we had to find other avenues to try to gain a little bit of attention. Anytime you're on the cover of Sports Illustrated, back when that mattered, that was huge. And the Marlins were on the cover several times. Financially, it doesn't mean a thing. You don't sell a ticket. I understand what MLB was doing. Jazz Chisholm is cool, and kids think he's cool. And he's black, he's Bahamian, he's got all of the boxes checked of what baseball wants to be. They want to be diverse, they want to be hip, they want to be interesting, they want to be outspoken, and they want their players to have personalities. What Jazz needs to do with this, though, he needs to play a full season, and he needs to be good. Because if you're on the cover of the show and then you're hurt or you're not good, your team can stink, but you can still be good. Andre Dawson with the Cubs MVP, but now he's got to perform. And one of the things the Marlins clubhouse had an issue with was him acting as though he had done things in the game that he had not yet done. So this is going to further feed Frankenstein's monster. And the question is, what will happen next?
Do you put all your marketing then behind him if you're the Marlins? I mean, you talked about cool, and nothing sells in Miami like cool, David. So is then the entire marketing campaign, if you were still running the Marlins, would be behind him?
I'm going to focus on the pitching staff. I'm going to focus on Sandy and he won the Cy Young Award, first ever in franchise history. I'm going to focus on things in the ballpark. I have a hard time focusing too much on the offense because we don't score. Now I'm acting like a we. They're not scoring runs. They're not winning games, but I'm certainly going to focus on Jazz because of the things he does, but I'm not going to make a huge deal out of the fact that he's on the cover of the show.
All right, got about 2 minutes left. Your thoughts on the presser, the event yesterday in St. Pete, the mayor saying this is the plan I want to go with. To me, it was telling that the owner of the Rays wasn't there, but the president was there. A dome, 2028, near the current ballpark, office spaces, affordable housing, retail. Oh, by the way, nobody has said how 1 penny of it's going to be paid for.
Well, why are you ruining such a good day? Okay, stop talking about money. Believe me, you're paying for it. So here's how it works. The owner, you save your owner for final announcements, not for interim announcements. They put Stu out there with that Tampa-Montreal plan way too much. And that plan, as we talked about in this show, was failed from the start. And so we always wanted our owner to be out there when deals were signed, when commission votes were had. And I was out there during the interim steps. So I think that's what you were seeing. It's been clear to me that Tampa's staying in Tampa. There's nowhere they're moving. Tampa, St. Pete. There's no way they're moving anywhere Northeast, Montreal, Vegas, Portland, none of it. Nashville, forget it. They're going to get a ballpark. And I've told you this story. You've got to have your fingernails clinging to the edge of the cliff. You've got to be falling, and the dirt is under your fingernails as the franchise is falling into the abyss of finality, and then you get a stadium deal done. And right now, we are about to be at that point because they have to start construction in order to open for when their Tropicana Field lease ends.
Yeah, but we got 30 seconds. There's no talk of Tampa, though. None of us think this can work in St. Pete. And it looks as if Tampa's sitting there with their arms folded going, we're not interested.
Well, St. Pete's putting in the money. I would have preferred to have been closer to the Broward line, but the money came from the city of Miami and the land did. So that's why we're there.
It's David Samson. Nothing Personal is the daily podcast, live, 8 a.m., Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. 10 seconds. How's that going? Live.
It's something. I like no net. You guys do without a net every single day. We don't edit it, and I'm about to start here in 2 minutes. We don't edit. We go straight through, but there's something about when the red light goes on that there's people actually watching you do it, and they're commenting and talking about the show while it's happening. That gives me excitement, but I don't get distracted by it. My producer pays attention to what's going on in the chat rooms. I do not, and there's just no shortage of content, that's for sure.
David Samson. Nothing Personal is the daily podcast, CBS Sports HQ. Follow him on Twitter, David, the letter P. Samson, David P. Samson. David, all the best. Miller and Moulton, thanks for listening. Florida Sports Network.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Life, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Life is supported with the help of local partners like Zeffy's Tavern and Pizzeria at 41 and Wiggins Pass. Award-winning pizza with a cool rock and roll theme. Don't miss North Naples' newest sensation, Zeffy's Tavern and Pizzeria. When it's time to leave, book with the award-winning service for Naples Daily News Best of 2021. 250-mile radius, live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Serving a 250-mile radius of Southwest Florida over 15 airports. Salt Life Transportation, the official transportation of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show. Book now, 239-308-8686, or online at saltlifetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Felipe, what time will you upload the Samson segment?
He just left the studio.
Gotcha.
They're usually up right after they're usually up after the hour, I believe. If not, it's up by 9:30.
That's a good segment.
I'm sure it's only for subscription, so I'll never get to read it.
Yeah, they must have reprinted that because somebody in Missouri wrote the big story on him because he's at the University of Missouri now. And so I'm guessing they just reran it.
No. That's why, because it wasn't one of their articles. Now that makes sense.
There was only one other coach in the country who won as many or more games as he did last year and got fired. And that was Will Wade because he was caught cheating at LSU. I will say, though, in fairness, FGCU plays 8 games left on the men's side, and 7 of the 8 are all teams that are kind of close to them in the standings. Now, I know they're 10th, but there's like a big block of teams like a game above them.
Guy just texted the show. I was asked if I was Mark Miller from your show last night at Publix. It feels really good to know we were both damn good looking. That's funny.
Good deal. Hops, the industry will never recover from the fact that they gave it away for free at the beginning. They thought the internet was just going to be a cute little extra. And once you give it away for free, people never want to pay for it. Porn had it right. They charged from the get-go. All those HBOs and the Showtimes and what have you, they've been paid per channels from the very beginning.
If you want to read the news, I mean, it's what, a couple bucks? At least it's cheap. We're coming back.
You were listening to
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. We appreciate it. Coming up in a little more than 15 minutes' time, Jeremy Wilson, heck of a story. Quit his job, spent a good chunk of the last year just going around the country playing golf. All 50 states. I'm going to talk to him about it. See how many people he could talk into doing the same thing.
See, after he did the Munis, my idea for him now is to write the next book on getting into the most exclusive clubs in the country.
Good luck with that. Good luck with
I'm sure they'd all love to have him now.
Talk to Jeremy in a little over 15 minutes' time. We did not get to this yesterday, but I feel as if even though it could come across as, old news, last week we spent a great deal of time, and remember, for a few weeks, the whole Trevor Lawrence and the Jags, and after the playoff win, and they went to, Waffle House. And Felipe just uttered, "I've never been to a Waffle House." And that led to like 2 days of texts and emails and comments in the Twitch chat room, and you haven't lived and you got to get out. Mark, Felipe's now been to Waffle House.
Yeah, he's no longer a Waffle House virgin.
No.
Not sure about the rest of it, but I do know that he has made it to a Waffle House.
So the question, of course, Felipe, runk or hungover?
Hungover.
Did you bring the young lady in your life?
Yes, her and her 2 friends. It was her idea, by the way.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, she was very anti this idea when we first brought it up.
Because I also mentioned on the show, and she was listening at the time and was also questioning, "You've never been to a Waffle House?" And said, what we should do is we should go to a Waffle House.
So she had been to a Waffle House before.
Oh, yeah.
So she knew how to order hash browns.
Yes.
So she was the sophisticated one.
All right. So
if you want to call it that, I guess.
So Felipe, one, did you get a waffle?
Yeah, of course. I got chocolate chips on my waffle.
What are you, 6?
I don't know. One of her friends.
Felipe, just to give you an idea how old the 2 guys are that you're working with, my first thought when you said it was 8. So Mark said 6, and in my brain I said 8. That to give you an idea of how old the 2 guys are you're working with.
All right.
Someone ordered it with chocolate chips, and I said, I'll do the same thing.
Good for you.
It was delicious.
So, did you like the ambiance? Okay.
Yeah. A lot of people also hungover, and then, sprinkle in a few old people, old timers, veteran,
and then
coffee.
You got the cook yelling morning at you. Not good morning. Morning.
Yeah.
I mean, you get a loud, how the heck are you, basically, when you come in the door. It's like getting greeted on this show. They're coming at you right from when you walk in the door. But here's the question. Did you get hash browns, and how did you order them?
Oh, my. I just said, can I have hash browns? And I guess they came in like the little strings,
Yeah, but you didn't get the, covered, top, smothered, capped, all the things you can get on them.
No.
You got to go back.
Yeah.
Actually, what you need to do? You need to sit at the counter and pay attention. Okay. You just need to, sip a coffee or a drink, and 15, 20 minutes, get yourself educated as to the proceedings, then get up, get back in line, sit in a booth.
Man, they just asked me if I wanted hash browns. I'm going to say yes to that.
Right. But it's just, listen, it has its own language. Okay. They ask that, but then you come back and tell them how it is you'd like it. Okay. You're like one of 3 people that day that said yes to that question. That's okay. It's all right. It was your first time. Give it up to Felipe.
They were great, by the way.
So you would go back?
Yeah. Sober, debatably, but yeah.
I'm never going to recommend it sober. You either want to do that hungover, or you do it at 3 a.m. There are 2 ways of taking the Waffle House, and you did one of them, hungover. The other way to take it in is at the end of the night when you've just finished partying.
Let me tell you, that bacon.
A little worried about someone that thinks Waffle House bacon's the end all be all, but
we found out apparently he likes his bacon greasy, apparently.
Oh, yeah.
Because obviously it's not like you're going to get, crispy and dry at the Waffle House. I mean, it's going to be a mess. That's why it's the Waffle House. I do love people now in our Twitch chat room sending in their hash brown orders, and, chili cheese, tomatoes, and ham, covered, smothered, chunked, and country. I love it. Just love it. Over medium, bacon medium. There you go.
Well, Felipe, you made it to the Waffle House. Now let's see what you can do with our Clutch Vodka play of the day. That's Clutch with a K.
Oh, it was just an absolute sleeper of a sports night tonight. I had one game winner that I found, and it was Chicago State. Bert Davis with the game-winning layup.
8 seconds to go. Chicago State on the move. Cardette leaves it for Davis. Davis with 2 to shoot, puts it up, banks it in with 0.3 remaining. Britt Davis, as the shot goes up from Durer, does not hit. Britt Davis is the hero in his old build.
Yeah, not really an exciting call, but then again, not really an exciting night of sports either. You know, just games that were decided not at the end.
Boy, Mark, I really thought he was going to like set up shop in your living room and cause you great harm. I mean, Luka had 53 last night, and it was a 2-point game late, and he had a spinning driving move. I really thought, you know, because you two just go at each other's throats about Luka, and so I really thought he was going to shove it
I spared
right up your.
I thought he was too. He had 53 points last night. The assistant coach was talking smack. He had, come on, you had Luka. Hey, I mean, Golden State won on the road last night. That's an accomplishment for them.
Well, here's the thing, Mark. Luka scoring 53 is just another day in the office for him. So
Come on. He doesn't score 53
the
every
fifth time
night.
He's ever done it.
Yeah, he's going to do
the
it.
Fifth time he's ever
He's
done
going to do
it.
it 5 more times.
I'm sure
this season.
Okay, name the bet. Name the bet.
What?
Tell you what, here's the bet. When he doesn't do it, you have to go to Waffle House and eat what we order for you.
Okay. I like that. I like that.
Done it 5 times in his career. He's going to do it 5 times between now and the rest of the season.
He's leading the league in scoring.
I'm aware of that.
That's the whole Clutch Vodka play of the day.
Clutch with a K. Go to clutchspirits.com. Check them out online at Clutch Spirits and hashtag all your drinks with the hashtag Clutch Spirits.
By the way, you have a thought on the ACC schedule at all? All right. The whole they're not adding a conference game. They're sticking with 8. All right. And you got 3 primary opponents. Because let's face it, you know, the SEC is going to go to 16 teams here. They're apparently getting rid of divisions. I mean, the Big Ten, I guess, is doing it as well coming up here soon. When USC and UCLA join, I mean, divisions are going away. You're not going to play everybody every year, maybe not even every 2 years.
No, you're not. And I guess what I'm torn with, David, because I don't know if I'm disappointed be the right. I'm just torn. Without divisions, the great season by Wake Forest is going to go unnoticed, if you know what I mean. Minnesota having a great year and sneaking in the West. I just wonder how difficult it is now for the teams to put up that one good year just to get to a conference championship game. I think they have made it harder and harder and harder for, you're going to get the 2 best teams most of the time, but you're really making it difficult for a team to have a from nowhere type season.
And I do think, though, the schedule is going to, you know me, I over-focus on the schedule. I've been guilty of that. I know it. But, you know, first off, who are your 3 primaries that you get every year? Some teams are going to get harder 3 than others. And then, you know, the 5 home and home games that you get, who it is you get, what year and where. I just, like Mac Brown was complaining bitterly about the schedule that North Carolina got. Just throwing that out there.
Miller and Moulton. Thanks for listening. Back with more in a moment right here on the Florida Sports Network. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. FLGolfCarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, FLGolfCarts.com. FLGolfCarts.com.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled, marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Played 111 courses in 50 states and played with 269 random partners. Jeremy, good morning.
Morning, fellas. How are you?
Doing good. Thanks for doing this. Appreciate it.
Sure thing. Where are you guys at? I know you're in Florida, but what part?
We're on in Tampa, St. Pete, Fort Myers, Naples, Lake City, and Port Charlotte, and Venice. We're on in 4 markets in the state.
Oh, sweet. Cool. I'm from Lakeland originally, so
okay.
Kind of nearby Tampa.
Mark lives just south of Fort Myers. I used to live there. I'm in Jacksonville now.
Oh, nice. Cool. Yeah, I played. Ended up playing 4 places on my, or 4 different munis in Florida too, which I can obviously talk about.
Did you make it down here by chance to Fort Myers?
I did.
Did you
So no, I didn't, but I know that's a pretty epic one.
Fort Myers Country Club is a great. I mean, it's a
yes.
Great, if part 2 ever comes out, I would highly recommend the Fort. It's an old Donald Ball course. It's a great little course.
That's what I've heard. I know. It sounds really good. I met this lady in Alaska who used to work there. She now works in Anchorage, Alaska. And she was like, "You got to play Fort Myers Country Club."
That's crazy.
Which obviously is like as far as you can get.
Right. I was going to say, I understand you going from Alaska to Fort Myers. I don't quite understand going from Fort Myers to Anchorage.
I know, right? Right. Her sister actually lives in Lakeland. I was like, "Excuse me, what? You know Lakeland? You know?" Like, how's that possible?
How's it going so far with the book?
It's going. So I just was at like this workshop in LA last week for a few days, and it helped out in a major way. So kind of feel like I'm off to the races now. Good. But still on the early parts of it for sure. but at least got the structure and got the first chunk written, which is the hardest, it seems.
Just want to make sure I got the vital info right. Pairedupgolf.com, Jeremy Wilson 412 on Twitter.
You can just use Paired Up Golf on Twitter if you want.
Okay.
Yep. I don't really use the personal one too much, other than complaining about Tennessee athletics.
Hey, between the football and the basketball, you don't have nearly as much to complain about anymore.
I was about to say, yeah, I know I went to the Texas game. We played Texas this past weekend. I was like, what a world.
10 seconds. All right, here we go, guys.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
22 minutes before the hour. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com, joined by Jeremy Wilson, who's authored the book Paired Up at the Muni. You can follow him on Twitter at Paired Up Golf, and you can go to pairedupgolf.com for more info. Jeremy, it's David and Mark. Thanks so much for your time. How are you?
Doing good, fellas. Thanks for having me on.
Normally, our standard first question for an author is, why did you write the book? We're going to deviate literally for the first time in our 15 plus years together. We're going to ask the author, why is it you did what you did to write the book?
I know, crazy, right? So I just got back right before Christmas from a 9-month trip where I went to all 50 states in a converted Sprinter van with my girlfriend and our 2 dogs, and played, municipal course in each state. Ended up playing 111 different municipal courses. And then my main point was to just get into completely random pairings at golf courses, which I'm good. Do you guys do this much? Do you ever get into random pairings?
Not at all. I'm a country club kid. I play my golf with the same group of 20 guys every Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday for the most part. I can't remember the last time I've been paired up.
Right. Totally. And
when I did play, I usually showed up by myself. So, I would end up paired with, whomever.
Exactly. And so that's kind of what I was looking for on this trip is, and as you guys know, at municipal courses in America, like you meet people from all walks of life, right? You can meet someone who, even on this trip, was recently in prison, to being some kind of business leader, to anything, right? And so that's basically my goal on this trip was, hey, let's just get into random pairings at every single golf course and just see who we end up meeting through that process. And so I ended up getting paired with 269 random playing partners on this trip, and obviously ran across some great stories.
So is the book then about the stories of these 269, about the golf courses, or the whole thing?
Well, the whole thing, but certainly focused on the people for the most part. And so that's kind of what my project is all about, is almost like a humans of the golf course. Like, hey, here's this person who, and really what I found is you meet these people, once you get past the pleasantries, where are you from, what do you do, etc. Once you go basically one level below that, that's where you get to some really interesting stuff that can really connect you with everybody. And that's something that you could read, even if you're a country club person and play with the same group always, or if you get paired up a bunch, you can read that and just kind of see the humanity in each story. At least that's my hope.
So what were you doing a year ago, and what caused you to go, I'm not going to do that anymore?
Well, this is going to not really connect necessarily, but I worked in sales for a window replacement company in Nashville, where I live, for about 9 years. And so naturally, of course, I left that and hopped in a van and played a bunch of golf.
Right.
Yes.
And you sold your girlfriend on it. By the way, you're a hell of a sales guy.
You are.
Yeah.
I would buy windows from you because somehow you convinced your girlfriend to do this trip with you. Does she play golf?
She does not, actually. She has a great swing. And I always tell her, I'm like, people would envy this swing of yours. She took lessons as a kid. Her dad had her do that. She's the middle of 3 girls. I think her dad decided she was the one that he was going to try to get to play. And but she's a competitive runner, so she's run 3 of the big like 6 marathons in the world and is training for London in April. So she was actually working remotely the whole time from the van, so she could do that, and then she was training. So
wait a minute. Let me get this straight. You played golf all over the country, and she was working. Does that mean she was paying for your golf too, Jeremy? I mean, you might be the best salesman we've ever met.
She was not paying for the golf, but she may agree more with you guys than me and say like, yeah, that's right, I was working the whole time and he was just playing golf.
Talking with Jeremy Wilson, okay, who quit his job and got in a van, no, not down by the river, and traveled the country and played a Muni, at least one in all 50 states. Follow him on Twitter at Paired Up Golf and find out more at pairedupgolf.com, which I'm assuming is also where you could go and order the book, Paired Up at the Muni. What was the biggest thing that you took away from this?
Oh man. One thing I thought about a lot on the trip was that this line kept going through my head when I would meet people, is that there's always more to the story. And I think about this a lot as I'm writing about each person as I work on this book. And one person in particular was this guy in Minnesota that I played with that was in Minneapolis. And he was in the group behind me, and then we ended up playing the back nine together because the people I was playing with left, but after 9. But he had this swing that was the most unique swing I've ever seen in my life. I mean, I could not figure out which way the club was going, and from afar I would think like, you might tell your buddy like, oh my gosh, look at this guy's swing, it's crazy. And then I met him and learned that he had this this affliction as a kid where they basically told him like, hey, you might not live until 18, and now he's in his mid 30s and has to swing this certain way because of what he had as a kid, like this illness. And once I learned that, like, you start to see a person in a whole new way, right? And so that way it's no longer, hey, look at this guy's crazy swing. It's like, oh well, this is this guy that was told he wasn't going to live past 18, and then suddenly his story just opens up that then you can connect with it, and you kind of again just see him in a completely different light.
Is the Muni player's love of golf maybe greater than the rest of our love of golf?
Oh, it might be. I mean, I'm so biased now because I've only played Munis for what's basically a year. But yeah, I mean, even if it's people that are at a Muni that costs like $5 to play or $200 to play, or and Torrey Pines is, I don't know, closer to 300 now. But I think so. I mean, those people are so into it. They love their course. Like they, a lot of these folks will actually go out there and work or volunteer on their off time at these Munis, and just to make them happen. And so yeah, those I think my love of golf increased, not just from playing a ton. Like I didn't really get burned out on the trip, which I thought I might, playing so much. Not to sound like I'm some kind of martyr, like, oh, I had to play all this golf, but I think being around those people that love it so much, it translated to me big time.
All right, talk about some of the courses. And we're talking with Jeremy Wilson, and he quit his job, got in a van, took his girlfriend, and he played a round of golf, at least one in all 50 states, nothing but Muni courses. And that's why the book is called Paired Up at the Muni. All right, you can start in Florida, but tell us about some of the places that you played.
Yeah, so in Florida, I played 4 places. So I'm from Lakeland, Florida originally. So I played my old Muni that I used to play as a kid growing up, called Cleveland Heights Golf Course there in Lakeland. But in Florida, I played, one I really liked was Jack's Beach Golf Club. I'm not sure if you guys have played that before, but it was redone about 3 years ago, and yeah, pretty fantastic place. It's really fun, kind of has all the Muni vibes you're looking for as well. So when I think of the courses, they kind of all fall in different buckets, right? Like you have your big ones that I play, which are Torrey Pines, Bethpage, Black, Chambers Bay, Harding Park, and San Francisco. Like all 4 of those kind of belong in a bucket in my mind. And then I played all these ones that are kind of in the middle there, which are some ones that really stood out to me, like Jeffersonville and Philadelphia was awesome. And there's this one in Kansas City called Swope Memorial, which was really cool. And there's ones that kind of fit in that bucket. And then there's ones I played that were 9-holers in the middle of the desert that no one's ever heard of. And, like I played one in a town called Truth or Consequences, New Mexico, and I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that.
Heard
But
of the town, I actually have because of the goofy name.
yeah, I had never heard of that. I kept thinking it was a mistake on like Google Maps. I was like, this keeps saying Truth or Consequences. This can't be the actual name of the town. Then I figured out it was renamed after the game show, and everyone there calls it T or C. But yeah, like I played a 9-holer there that was really fun. I mean, it was in really rough condition, but just the pairing there was fun. So I really played stuff quite literally all across the map.
And the other side of it is like the one thing we know about munis, it's not like the country club. Not everybody's dressed the way we would think they may be dressed for golf. So give us a story of a person, a personality that you met that just kind of blew you away.
Yeah. So I think of this a lot. There's a couple people that come to mind when you say that. So one is I played this course in the middle of nowhere, West Texas, that is a 9-holer, and I got there on a Tuesday. They were closed on Monday, so I played on Tuesday, and there's nobody in the parking lot. There's like literally one truck there, and it's the one and only employee who was mowing greens, hopped off the mower to check me in the pro shop, and I was like, hey, is anybody coming out today? And he was like, no, not during the week. Like acted like it was the craziest thing. And so I was like, oh, okay. And then he was like, no, people around here work. Like, we pretty much, you'll see people on the weekend and that's it. But I think about him a lot. And he's worked there for 40 years and run this course literally as the only employee. He has like one helper that does some grounds work here and there for him. But and then I think about a guy in San Antonio a lot named Frank, who I believe he was 87 years old. I know he was in his 80s, and he had been playing that course since he was 12 years old. So literally like 75 years at this golf course. And he had stopped playing for about 10 years, but he decided finally that he wanted to shoot his age. And so he got on YouTube, and I don't know if you guys have ever done this, but he just basically went to YouTube golf school, right? And just watched every YouTube video on every swing tip, of which there are probably thousands of.
Right.
Yeah. And so now every day he goes out to Brackenridge, which is kind of an old famous muni there, and tries to shoot his age. And he was just an epic person to play with. And he didn't shoot his age the day we played, but I genuinely I think he's going to do that at some point.
All right. What's your next act? More golf, or are you going to get a job? What are you doing?
Oh man. So, going to finish this book, and then, hopefully start promoting that here, later this year. And then I kind of have the next trip cooked up in my head already, but I'm not going to share that necessarily yet because I need to see if it's still possible. So hopefully more golf, and yeah.
The 50 most exclusive golf courses. Now you've got something to shoot for. I mean, come on. You got the munis done. Call Augusta National.
I'll just do both ends of the spectrum, basically.
Right. Dress like your Caddyshack and show up at the most exclusive places and see how it goes.
Yeah.
He's Jeremy Wilson. Look for Paired Up at the Muni. Go to pairedupgolf.com, and you can follow him on Twitter at Paired Up Golf. Jeremy, it's a fun story, and congratulations on pulling it off. We wish you all the best, and if we can help along the way, let us know.
Thanks, fellas. And if you need a van, I got one here in Nashville in my driveway, just waiting for you if you're ready to leave.
Got what? Just 4,000 miles on it. That's it, right?
Yeah, just a smooth 23,000 on that trip. So.
Wow. How about that? Thanks, Jeremy.
Thanks, Jeremy. Be well.
Thanks, fellas.
23,000 miles in that van, all 50 states.
Talked the girlfriend into going with him.
I know, and she's working and out there training for marathons while he's doing it.
I'm going to go play 18. What are you going to do? I'm going to go run 20 miles.
Right. And then I'm going to work today, if that's okay. And he's trying to sell her on, come on, I'm working too. I'm going to write a book.
Because we all know how profitable these things are.
Exactly. Right.
Fun idea.
Oh, my goodness. But I mean, he just quits life as he knows it. 9 years selling windows, and he's like, you know what? I got an idea. Let's hop in the van, grab the pets. Okay. We'll travel the country. I'll play golf. What do you say? And she says, yes. You got to marry her on the spot, by the way.
Right. Why didn't you play a muni in Vegas and get this over with?
So look for it paired up at the Muni. And you're trying to talk him into it because apparently he's got a second act in mind. And you said, well, you at least got to come to the Fort in Fort Myers.
If he does another Muni, Fort Myers Country Club, and he even said, we talked a little bit off air, he was in Anchorage, Alaska, and a person working at the course there said, you got to play the Muni in Fort Myers, Florida, Fort Myers Country Club. So a little love for the Fort, even in Anchorage, which is great.
Think about this. He's obviously going to do some publicity and what have you. Think of all the suggestions he's going to get from around the country. You know, hey, did you play this course? Hey, did you go? I mean, he probably will have a 2.0 mapped out. It sounds like this one, he was just driving around with Google Maps going, do I make a right, honey? Where am I going?
So you were a single a lot going to the Muni,
Yes.
Stephen?
Yeah, I was. Yep. Had no problem playing by myself and had no problem, just jumping in a group and what have you. Had no problem if the group said, no, we don't want you. I'd be like, okay, can I just hit through? I'll get out of your way. I was a fast player, so, I can get out of their way pretty quickly.
Maybe the most important thing in Muni golf, pace.
Whew. Yep. And besides, I was never the best golfer in the group. I was always good, but never the best.
That's a great way to jump into a group.
Mm-hmm.
You don't jump into the group being the A player because then you get a lot of dirty looks. If you're the C or D, even if you're the B player, it's okay. You just can't walk into the group being the best player. Miller and Moulton, we thank you so much for listening. Paired Up Golf. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around and get it.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Life, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Life is supported with the help of local partners like Zeffy's Tavern and Pizzeria at 41 and Wiggins Pass. Award-winning pizza with a cool rock and roll theme. Don't miss North Naples' newest sensation, Zeffy's Tavern and Pizzeria. When it's time to leave, book with the award-winning service for Naples Daily News Best of 2021. 250-mile radius, live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Serving a 250-mile radius of Southwest Florida over 15 airports. Salt Life Transportation, the official transportation of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show. Book now, 239-308-8686, or online at saltlifetransportation.com.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Pat says he's having trouble getting in. Pat says he's having trouble getting in.
Okay. Do we need to call him?
But on his end, he said the screen will not move down for me to click enter.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
Is he using his computer?
No, he's probably using his phone. I would say try it again. I can resend a link if he wants.
I'd resend it.
All right. Tell him it's resent.
He's using a computer. I told him we resent a link. So we're good with rerunning that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Felipe, do you have a number for him?
Yes.
Just wait a second. Felipe, call him.
Call him.
I will.
Have you ever experienced that before?
No.
No.
But I don't join it the way you guys do. I'm the one initiating all of it.
Yeah, there you go. Nick, what do you mean is he zoomed in too far?
Is he zoomed in past where he can see it? I know what he's saying, but I don't know.
Right.
That's on holder back in 10.
Okay.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Third and final hour of Miller and Moulton in Lake City and surrounding areas, Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte to Venice, halfway home in the 239. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Pat Kirwan joins us at this day and time. You know, he of NFL Radio's Moving the Chains and CBS's NFL Today show. Pat joining us courtesy of Pinchers, Tampa to Key West, over a dozen locations in between Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. He joins us live from Mobile, Alabama, site of the Senior Bowl. Senior Bowl week already underway. Pat, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing fine, my friends. Good to hear your voices. And we're down to one game. and we got 2 weeks to talk about it. So whatever. And I'm just in Mobile, really just getting ready for practice. And today I'll do offensive linemen, and there's a lot of good ones here. And then because of that, I'll be looking at the defensive linemen at the same time. So it's all guys with their hand on the ground for today and probably half of tomorrow.
Pat, speaking of hands on the ground, let's go backwards before we start going forward. Philadelphia defensively, yeah, it was easy because of the quarterback situation, but you've talked about it all year. When they keep rolling guys like that, it is pretty impressive what they've been able to do.
Well, I believe if you look at a team from hands on the ground, 5 offensive linemen, 4 defensive guys, I think Philadelphia is the best team. And we do believe Detroit's got a good offensive line. But when you add it all up, they're going to win in the trenches most of the time. And they have a waves of guys at the inside tackles. They have outside rushers. Like they came into the game with 75 sacks. And on the offensive line, you look at that group and you got to say they're either 1 or 2. But when you combine it all, nobody battles in the trenches like the Eagles. So I think that's a big advantage for them.
Pat, I know you talked about it on your show yesterday, but there were a couple of things that happened and didn't happen during the NFC Championship game. The key missed call early, and don't think it determines the outcome of the game, but San Francisco obviously needed every break they could get. And then obviously with 2 quarterbacks injured in the game, no third quarterback. They, like most teams, don't have 3 quarterbacks active on game day. We saw 4 years ago in an NFC Championship game, the pass interference that was missed, and they changed the rules immediately. Do you think that something, whether it's the missed call that led to the touchdown or not being able to have a third quarterback, do you think something comes from this game?
I think the best chance, and maybe the best chance in a long time, is for the roster expansion. So that's going to help solve not just the quarterback, the third quarterback, but it's going to solve the 8th offensive lineman and multiple other things. So I think there'll be a push by coaches and hopefully owners. I don't really know what the competition committee's philosophy really is anymore, but they fight this all the time. But the San Francisco game was a classic example of not having enough people in uniform to play. And there's a lot of ways they could do it to appease those who don't want to expand the roster. But I've talked to enough owners that want it, so I believe that one has a chance. Now, on the officiating end of it, there's a flaw in the system. And if you go down the left side, because it happened in both games, and you get the ball thrown on the inside and you go down with the ball, apparently the guy, the official who should be right there, can't see. And then if the team runs up and tries to hurry up, then all of a sudden we don't know how to stop a game and get it correct. So in one game it was they missed it, and the next game they got it. So inconsistency has to be cleaned up. One of the things I said yesterday, which is, and I don't even like to say just postseason, because the regular season can affect you getting in the postseason, but we don't have guys that can stay up with the vertical stretch of these athletes. They run 4-3 going down the field, and the quarterbacks can throw the ball 60 yards, and all of a sudden we don't have a man in position to make the right call. So I'm already thinking, and I said this yesterday, we should have an official on each end zone line who doesn't run, he just stays there, and he waits for the vertical game to come down the field, and then he's in position to see things that the guys apparently can't run with. And I get it. You got a 55-year-old guy who's half overweight. He's trying to chase these kids down the field. And they're not physically capable of staying up with the speed of the
Napa Auto Parts and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicle.
By the way, Pat, it's a compliment there. Mark, he described me as half overweight. Okay, that's the best thing that's been said about guys like me in a long time.
There's no doubt. But Pat, why? I understand where you're coming from, and I don't know if we need to spend a whole lot of time on this, but will there ever be any push to just put someone up in the replay booth who can buzz in, to go to the system on Saturdays, which works better for the record, But it seems all your points are valid. One more guy upstairs seems to be able to help the whole field.
I agree with you. And I don't bring it up anymore because I was fighting for it for years. And I brought that up to people that are decision makers. Oh yeah, and actually one owner said to me, we've been investigating the college system. And I looked at it and I said, investigating what? You can watch one game and figure out their response time is better than ours. But the problem with egos is you don't want to ever say you did something the colleges are doing. So it gets shelved all the time. And then we all cry about we're just trying to get it right. And then we're not getting it right. And all I can say is, if we always will spin what we witnessed when they missed it and said, that was the last play of the Super Bowl. Is that how you want the Super Bowl to end? Because if you don't want the Super Bowl to end that way, you shouldn't want any game to end that way.
He's Pat Kirwan, NFL Radio's Moving the Chains, weekday afternoons 3 to 7, and during the season, many times 2 to 5 on Saturdays. He's also part of CBS's NFL Today show. Pat joining us courtesy of Pinchers, Tampa to Key West. Bunch of locations in between Pinchers because you can't fake fresh. All right, you were on the sidelines for the AFC Championship game. Just some of your takeaways. It felt there are games sometimes, Pat, in which the intensity actually seeps through the screen and reaches those of us that are sitting, on couches. And also Mahomes. And you were there. I saw you a couple times on the Chiefs sidelines. Just his ability to play through clearly being injured. Just your thoughts on the AFC title game.
Yeah, he was awesome. And he was not healthy. And he was thrown off one foot a lot. And then he really, when the cameras weren't on him after a play, just you could see the kind of pain that guy was in. But he played through it. And, legendary performance, I will say. For him and Kelsey, who definitely had a bad back. I talked to enough people to convince me of that. He came out there and gutted it out. I know that Mahomes did it without taking an injection, which is pretty fantastic. And I don't think his head coach wanted him to take one. They were afraid of further damage. So it was an impressive performance. Now, the game, I would think these two teams are going to meet at least 5 times in the next 10 years. The quarterbacks are that good. And they should be, historic in a lot of ways as they meet time after time. The game could have gone the other way. Cincinnati could have easily won it when they hit the 4th and 16. Now they're driving for the winning field goal. And then, of course, as we talked about, Mark, we're going to get to the 5th sack, and all of a sudden the Bengals don't win. They won one game when they got 9 sacks on Burrow against Tennessee, but they've lost every other game that they get 5 or more. And after those 4 sacks in the first 8 plays, Burrow went 31 passes in a row without getting hit. And then as the game was on the line, Chris Jones came through finally and got another one. And it affected the finish of the game. And then the hit out of bounds turned what was going to be a 60-yard field goal into a 45-yard field goal. And that made the difference at the end. But I thought we were going to overtime, and man, did I want to see overtime with the new overtime rules, and didn't get a chance to see it. All the theories about go first, go second, all that. And it looked like we were going to get to that moment, and we didn't, of course, when the quarterback got hit out of bounds. But I will say this. The more I stood on that sideline in 0-degree weather, and it did not affect the performance of the players. The cold didn't bother them, and it certainly didn't bother the 76,000 people screaming and yelling either.
Pat, how loud was it? Because I will say the one thing from how the game was done on TV, it didn't seem loud. The announcers kept talking about how loud it was. You could tell that was affecting play calls for Cincinnati, but you couldn't hear it.
Yeah, the TV doesn't do the live performance justice. We've all been to many live games, but that place is extremely loud. And all they have to do is get one offensive lineman early in the game to jump off sides, and then they turn the decibels up even more because they feel, as the crowd, they feel like they do that. And they do. And so it just encourages them to be even louder. And I will tell you, trying to talk to Phil or Bill Cowher or Boomer or any of the guys on the sideline during the game, you basically had to cup your hands over their ear, and I don't know how the quarterbacks ever got anything out to the wide receivers.
Pat, Roger Goodell was at the NFC title game, and I mean, yes, it was a big celebration and all that. We got about a minute left in this segment. I mean, do you think he possibly looked around and said, why in the world do I want to go to have a stadium in which, I mean, he goes to the Super Bowl every year. The Super Bowl atmosphere is awful. After the pregame show, the atmosphere of the Super Bowl is awful.
Well, it's a rented crowd, right? There's not really two fan bases. They don't get enough seats. There's a lot of people that just came for the event of it, if you will. And I have people that tell me they're there for the halftime show, which on a regular basis is pretty bad. Lately, it's been the one in Tampa was awful. So you don't have a football crowd per se at the Super Bowl, and it's a lot different than what we witnessed in Kansas City the other night, which I had full expectations that was going to be the same way if it was in Cincinnati or Buffalo or anywhere else. It'll be interesting to see how this one goes. Philadelphia's got a passionate crowd. Kansas City has one. So maybe it'll be a little more like a football game than a big social event.
But obviously there was a lot in the news about the NFL thinking seriously about a neutral site for the conference championship games. Hopefully that what Goodell experienced in Philly and what certainly was the atmosphere in Kansas City will change a few people's mind, and that the almighty dollar doesn't win out in the end. More with Pat Kirwan on the other side. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Life, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Life is supported with the help of local partners like Zephy's Tavern and Pizzeria at 41 and Wiggins Pass. Award-winning pizza with a cool rock and roll theme. Don't miss North Naples' newest sensation, Zephy's Tavern and Pizzeria. When it's time to leave, book with the award-winning service for Naples Daily News Best of 2021. 250-mile radius, live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Serving a 250-mile radius of Southwest Florida over 15 airports. Salt Life Transportation, the official transportation of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show. Book now, 239-308-8686, or online at saltlifetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Hey, Pat.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good.
We still there?
Yep, we're here.
Okay.
Heard you had a hell of a time getting to Mobile yesterday.
I did okay. I got here in time for the show. I made it by 1 minute. But Jimmy Miller never made it. And Mike, Kinnahan, who's the producer, he wasn't here at 9:30 last night, and he started out at 6 a.m. So
wow.
And I was done eating dinner about 8:30, and I called to see, and I said, if he picks it up, he's screwed. He's somewhere, and it turned out he was still in Dallas. What a mess. I feel bad for him. I feel bad for Jimmy. Jimmy got here, and Jimmy jumped on a plane to try to make the show, which of course he didn't. Yeah. But his clothes, his books, everything was Mike Kinnahan had him because they had put him on another plane, and then the plane was delayed. So Jimmy jumped on something else. So he got here, he had nothing. So it was a mess in many directions.
Who's I know I should know this. Who's coaching the Senior Bowl this year? What teams got it?
No, they don't do it. The Senior Bowl's getting railroaded by the NFL Network. So the NFL pulled out of one, coaching staffs, which is your question, and two, they pulled their trainers out too. So the NFL, Dr. Andrews took over the medical. He's got a bunch of guys here taking care of that, which is a last minute deal. And for the coaching staff, Jimmy Nagy went to all the teams and said, hey, anyone wants to coach in this game? And here, I'll if you're looking for offensive linemen, I'll make sure your line coach gets a line job here. If you're looking for quarterbacks, we'll make sure you can have a guy with the quarterback. So they piece together staffs. I don't know how that's going to work. It might be good, actually, because now a lot of teams have interest, not just the two staffs coaching, but continuity is hard, man. Like, you got a bunch of coaches that don't really work with each other, and they're going to try to piece together. Well, you know what? The offenses are so simple, and the defense, you can't put it. So it won't be that hard to put it all together. We'll see how it works now. But I feel bad for Jim Nagy and these guys because the network they don't want to come to Mobile, Alabama. And now they've got the East-West game tied to the NFL Network in Vegas the day before the Pro Bowl, whatever they call that garbage.
Oh, that Shrine Bowl, right?
Yeah. So they grabbed that game and put it in Vegas on Saturday with the Pro Bowl activities or whatever they're calling it on Sunday. So they're going to make that and Bill Belichick's coaching one of the teams. The Patriots staff has one, and I don't know who the other staff is that's in there, but they're trying. You know what? And what's going to happen here is they're going to end up losing players to that game. But right now they still get their normal good quality players. Lots of round 2, round 3 guys. They don't get a lot of ones because it's the Senior Bowl, and a lot of juniors and underclassmen are going to eat up the first 15 spots in their draft.
So you're there all week, and then you going right from there to Phoenix?
Yeah, so I'm here. We have practice every day, obviously, and then Saturday I do the game, and Sunday morning 7 a.m. fly to Phoenix and do that. So we don't have CBS doesn't have a game this year, so I'm going to leave right after the Friday show and go home and watch the game at home, and then do the post game show from the house. If you hang around at the game when you're not working, you'll end up talking all day, and you're not really watching the game. I'm better off in my house by myself with all my stuff out, and I can watch it and rewatch it and get ready for the post-game show.
Here we go, guys.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes now past the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Our remaining moments with Pat Kirwan. He's live in Mobile, Alabama, site of the Senior Bowl week underway. Pat, the next couple days, is going to be focusing on the guys who put their hand in the dirt. All right, like you said, Super Bowl, obviously, we can talk about that next week. Let's talk about some of the other things that have developed here. Cowboys moving on from Kellen Moore, who was quickly gobbled up by the Chargers. A, surprised. B, your thoughts?
Their offense was good enough that probably shouldn't have happened. You know, how often do you have guys that are ranked in the top 10 in passing, running, total offense, points scored, and then fire him and then the staff leaves behind it? No, it's kind of odd. But Mike wants to call the plays, and Mike's probably got a little bit of his back to the wall here. And if you're going to go out your own way, and he's going to want to do that. He has done this before. I'm sure you guys have covered that with your listeners. He did it in Green Bay, and he took back the play calling. And this way, he's going to bring in who he wants to do it his way. And I don't know, cutting down interceptions, is that the reason they did it, or was there an ego clash there? I don't know. There were people that thought Kellen Moore one day might be the head coach. Mike's clearing the deck of all that stuff. Kind of strange. And you're right, he got picked up pretty quickly. I think some guys anticipated it happening, so they were ready to jump on him the second he came free.
How much better does this make San Diego in your estimation? I mean, he's there now. I mean, that's for Moore. We think it's a hell of an upgrade at quarterback. How much is it going to be an upgrade for the Chargers? In LA, I just did San Diego. I know what I caught myself.
Oh, that's okay. I say it all the time. You probably now I'm going to say it 3 times this afternoon because of you. I'll blame you later.
That's fine.
No, well, he's an accomplished guy. He's a quarterback himself. He's got a track record of being a pretty good offensive coach. You know, his head coach likes to go for it on 4th down, and he's a defensive guy, so maybe this is going to help him come up with better stuff to do. I don't think of Kellen really as like a guru coach. I think he's just a good functioning guy, and he can't hurt what's going on out there. And I think he'll be fine for them. And the quarterback will probably like him a lot. I think that's the other part of this. The quarterback needs to keep developing. You look at these AFC quarterbacks. I think Justin Herbert has a chance to be the best one. He's not right now, and hopefully Kellen can bring him into the status of Burrow.
Torn UCL for Brock Purdy. Boy, the Niners cannot catch a break when it comes to their quarterbacks and injuries. And now, you know, Lance will probably be the only healthy one at the beginning of camp, and he's coming back from a major injury. But your thoughts on, you know, Purdy's injury, and if you're the Niners, you know, you're going to count on either of these young guys? I mean, what are you thinking?
Well, today the popular response to that question is Tom Brady, and it wasn't very popular when he played him. People said Tom's not the right guy, but now maybe. First off, you really want to put Trey Lance out there? I don't know what they really want to do. They can say whatever they want. They've avoided doing it, and as soon as they had Garoppolo healthy back when Lance came back, they didn't put Lance back on the field, so that told me something about how they really feel. I would say, you know, Jimmy Miller knows this injury pretty well, and he did not think this was going to go well for Purdy. He didn't think it was going to be what everyone thinks, 6 months. He said, nah, don't count on him being really right for a whole year. So I would think maybe Brady's the answer. I'm certainly going to get a lot of feed on that during the show the next couple of days.
Dolphins go with Fangio for the D coordinator. How big is that for Miami in your estimation, Pat?
I like him a lot. He knows how to win football games on defense. He knows how to evaluate talent to play defense. He's a no-nonsense guy. And I think he's going to help the head coach a lot. He's a young guy who's going to be very talented. And I would say Vic's he's not an ego guy, so he's not looking to take over the team, and he's not looking to tell the kid that he doesn't know what he's doing. He'll be a very good support system. And I do think that Fangio will bring in some good assistants, probably Eddie Donatel if he still wants to coach. I mean, he and Vic are very close. Eddie's a terrific secondary coach. So, you're going to get a lot of experience on the defensive side of the ball. And the players, there's no place to hide. They'll know right away who's not really good enough to do what they do.
Is this an endorsement of McDaniel? If you're a Dolphins fan, should you look at it that way, or is this just a matter of the Dolphins offered top dollar?
I think they want to support the young guy. I think there's a notion that he's going to be pretty good if they just give him the time. It appears that way to me. From the guys I talked to, they like him. But I think they all know he's young, and we talk about this a lot on this show about you got to gain the experience as a head coach. So one of the best things you can do for the young guy is to put a former head coach or two on the staff.
But also, Pat,
and Donato, they don't have egos.
But the fact that Vic said yes to McDaniel, that actually was what surprised me. Okay, because Vic had other offers, and I'm sure he had better situations. Quite frankly, it impressed me. If I'm a Dolphins fan, wow, Vic Fangio's comfortable working with Mike McDaniel. I'll be damned.
Well, the money helps. You brought that up, and I agree with that part. But I also think Vic knows what he needs to be around. He's been with bad teams. He's been with good teams. And coaches like him look around and see, can I win here? Is this going to be fun? Because it wasn't fun I had him on my show every week, and it wasn't fun from down the stretch. So I think that's part of it. At his age, he's looking around going, oh, this looks like it would be a good opportunity here. And I think the same thing happened to me, and I'm not comparing myself to Fangio, but the day I met that young head coach, I liked him. And I think that the coach might have won Vic over. Because I don't think he's going to intrude at all on Vic's side of the ball.
There was always a lot of links between Fangio going with wherever Sean Payton did. Do you think Sean Payton's taking a job? Do you still think he's going to be coaching next year? You've advised him basically on this show not to. Is this another reason to think it's not going to happen?
It's easy, I think, to connect it, Mark, and say, well, that now that Vic's gone, that means, Sean's not going to do it. Sean probably find someone else if he wanted to do it. I hope he's thinking, let me take a year off. These jobs aren't for him. And he needs to be very choosy when he goes back. Because if he goes back and fails, it'll be over pretty quickly. We've seen guys do it. So I'm hoping this is a sign that Sean's going to pass on all these jobs. And the Denver thing and all that was going on, all kicking for him, that's Sean's smart to stay away right now.
Pat, enjoy your week in Mobile. Don't know what your schedule is going to be like on Friday, but we'll try to talk to you then, okay?
Yeah, Friday, it'll work because Friday's the easiest day of the week here. And it's got a late start. I think we're not even getting going until like 11:30. So if we can do this time, that'd be terrific.
All right. He's Pat Kirwan, NFL Radio's Moving the Chains, CBS's NFL Today show. Pat brought to us twice a week throughout the season, courtesy of Pinchers, Tampa to Key West, over a dozen locations in between Pinchers because you can't fake fresh. All the best, Pat, in Mobile. Miller and Moulton will react to some of what Pat had to say. Also, there was other NFL news that came about yesterday that we've yet to get to. We will talk about it on the other side. Miller and Moulton, thanks so much for listening. Where else but the Florida Sports Network?
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Life, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Life is supported with the help of local partners like Zephy's Tavern and Pizzeria at 41 and Wiggins Pass. Award-winning pizza with a cool rock and roll theme. Don't miss North Naples' newest sensation, Zephy's Tavern and Pizzeria. When it's time to leave, book with the award-winning service for Naples Daily News Best of 2021. 250-mile radius, live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Serving a 250-mile radius of Southwest Florida over 15 airports. Salt Life Transportation, the official transportation of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show. Book now, 239-308-8686, or online at saltlifetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
KW, I don't know if you were answered already, but Sean has 2 years left on his contract after the Super Bowl. So if he sits out another year, he'll only have a year left. It's why some thought the Saints would actually prefer that he comes back. Now, they can get more for him now with 2 years left than when he has just a year left. Like Mark, if you're Sean Payton, by the way, try to predict the jobs that you think are going to be open next year. Like these jobs, whatever reason it doesn't work out, you don't take them. Well, okay. So what's six, 7 jobs? Ooh, you think the Jets job?
If it doesn't work out.
Well, right. I mean, obviously
it goes bad this year. Okay. I'm saying jobs that,
Right. Okay. So I'll write it down. So we got Jets. You could say the same thing about Dallas.
I doubt it, but Baltimore.
Ooh. How about Cleveland?
You beat me to it.
All right. Cleveland, Baltimore.
I still think the Chargers is in play.
Well, I also think the Rams are in play. I think McVay's year to year. But
I disagree, Mr. Boutte. He's I know he's age-wise, you're right, but man, the energy of that guy, I just don't see him walking away.
Pizza lifer.
I mean, obviously Dallas.
Yeah. We got the Jets, Dallas, Cleveland, Baltimore, both LA jobs. Green Bay could open.
Yeah.
It will be interesting if you get new ownership in Washington. Does Rivera become vulnerable? I don't think so, actually, Mr. Boutte, about Atlanta, because the owner, the GM, and the head coach are all on the same page. Everything they've done the last 2 years has been geared up for this offseason. So I think that 2023 would have to go very badly. Arizona's going to get a new coach, so unlikely there. Let me throw out a crazy one. How about Buffalo? I mean, at what point, let's just say they only go to the divisional round again. mean, that's how Dungy lost his job in Tampa.
Yep.
They felt that we had to go get a hired gun to get us over the hump. Now, the thing is, the coach basically picked the GM. The coach got there before the GM. Not by much, but these two had worked together in Carolina, so. But
30 seconds. Here we go.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes before the hour, Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. So, we were just talking with Pat Kirwan. If you missed our conversation with Pat Kirwan, just like David Samson earlier, floridasportsnetwork.com, download our podcasts after the show. So, we didn't mention this with Pat, but 16.6 million is what the cap is going up in the NFL. It's now going to be a shade under 225 million. Cap went up 8%. The other thing that came out yesterday, Mark, which we didn't mention earlier, the NFL informed the teams what the franchise tags are going to cost, and then also what the transition tags would be. The transition tag is, hey, the guys can go out and receive offers from other teams, and they could take the best offer and they could present it to the team and say, you got to match it or else I'm going there. And then the team, if they don't match it, works out a trade, usually. Quarterback, obviously the highest, but Mark, I thought this number would be much higher. Apparently, the franchise tag on a quarterback's $32.5 million.
That is a lot. I thought it was going to be, isn't it?
40s.
I thought it was in the 40s for sure.
Right.
So now if you're the Giants, that's a palatable number. If you don't get Jones to sign to a long-term contract, you can franchise at 32. Because I didn't think he was someone that could be franchised. I didn't think they'd want to franchise him in the 40s. At 32, it's a totally different story.
Here's the other thing. Running backs a shade over 10. So you mentioned the Giants. Saquon's an unrestricted free agent. They can tag him. It's only $10 million. He's already turned down 12 a year from them. McCaffrey, by the way, highest paid running back, I believe, in average annual value at a little over 16. But by the way, second most expensive position in the NFL is
wide receiver?
That would have been my guess. It's third. Linebacker. Now, see, this can be a problem. You got a good inside linebacker. Well, the franchise tag's just under 21. So the Hassan Reddicks of the world, who are stand-up ends, as we like to call them, they're being labeled a linebacker. Micah Parsons is a linebacker. Okay, even though these guys rush the passer and get double-digit sacks. So they don't differentiate between a pass-rushing linebacker, an outside linebacker, if you will, in the Lawrence Taylor mode, and an inside linebacker. So if you have a good inside linebacker, you could tag them. It's going to cost you $21 million. Which makes sense for the guy getting double-digit sacks.
Right, which is twice as much as what you want to pay the inside guy, almost. I mean, maybe a little less than that, but think about that, Tampa.
Mm-hmm. Wide receiver and defensive end are basically the same. They're $16,000 apart. They're both a shade under 20, 19.7 and change. So defensive end, wide receiver, wide receivers 3, defensive ends 4. Defensive tackle makes a shade under 19. Want a franchise tag a corner? Shade over 18. Something to remember. If a guy was tagged the year before, you have to add 20% to this year's tag if they tag him again. So like for those of you, Dalton Schultz with the Cowboys, Gesicki. Right. The tight end tag is $11.345 million. Well, you got to add 20%. So to tag Gesicki and Schultz, for example, and keep them will cost you about $13.6 million.
That's why Travis Kelce may be the most underpaid player in the National Football League.
Whoo-wee. Yes. So a safety, by the way, makes nearly $14.5 million. The Bengals have a terrific safety in Bates. Now, they drafted a guy a year or so ago. The thought is they're going to let Jesse Bates go and move on. But Jesse Bates is one of their best players. But they've tagged him for this year. That $14.5 million is his tag, the franchise figure. You'd have to add 20% to that. That means to keep Jesse Bates, it cost you $17.25 million, Cincinnati. So he's probably going elsewhere. By the way, kickers and punters, $5.4 million. Which I think is a steal. If you got a really good kicker, $5 million to keep him, done.
It's really easy, actually.
I mean, it's no big deal or anything. A guy just sent one team to the Super Bowl because making a 45-yard field goal. It's not like these are important. Robbie Gould's yet to miss a kick in his playoff career.
By the way, are kicks too easy? Do the goalposts need to be tightened? I'm not even messing around when I say that. I mean, it's almost a formality for most field goals.
Would you mess around with what a field goal is worth? Like a shot in basketball. If it's inside the arc, it's only worth 2. You go outside. Do you make a field goal inside of 50 only worth 2? And those 50 or more worth 3?
You're torturing Bears fans right now.
I'm not trying to torture any fans. I'm just trying to merely say that the kick has become so automatic. We've already moved the extra point back because it was ridiculously automatic. It was just...
And you have to admit, it's worked.
Yes.
Mentally, it's messed some kickers up.
Absolutely.
They'd have no problem kicking the 40-yard field goal, but you line them up for a 32-yard extra point, and it's an extra point, and they know it, it messes them up. It's like a good putter from 15 feet who can't make the 3-footer.
So it's just something I wonder.
Yeah. There are those that feel there's too many field goals. Now, I will say in the last 2-3 years with all the going for it on 4th down, I don't know if that's still the feeling, but right before the pandemic, Mark, there was a thought that there were too many field goals. We need to get more touchdowns in the game.
And we've definitely gotten that, or at least the attempt for more by going for it more on 4th downs. I mean, don't we all watch the game a little differently right now?
Yeah.
I mean, I think we're all conditioned now on a 3rd and 6 going, well, are they going to try to get 3 here and go for it on 4th down?
Absolutely. And broadcasters have to look at it very differently also. That your point there, sometimes there are play calls on 3rd and 8 in which you're like, oh, well, they had already made the decision that they were going to go for it. They're trying to cut this in half. So not just the salary cap itself, which went up 16.6 million, 8%. It's just under 225 million. But the franchise and transition tag figures came out yesterday as well. You know your team, who's a potential free agent, et cetera. Do the math.
Isn't this, in a way, advantage Baltimore? I mean, if you're Lamar, the amount of money you're leaving on the table by getting franchised is ridiculous.
Yes. Not only that, all the draft picks, remember, from last year's draft? I mean, we joked they had the 6th, 4th round picks. I mean, the Ravens cap situation should be good. They're not paying a wide receiver, goodness knows. All right. They've yet to pay their quarterback. I mean, their quarterback last year, it was the final year of his rookie deal. I mean, what was he making? 20-ish?
Well, that's why they were able to trade for and sign the Smith.
Yeah, Roquan Smith, no doubt about it.
Done.
But remember, they traded away their wide receiver, Hollywood Brown. They traded him to Arizona. So, yeah, so there was money that was released yesterday in the NFL. The cap was $10 million less than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be 235-ish. Instead, it's 225. Next year's the first year of the new TV contract. That's why I thought it was going to be bigger. So maybe 2024 is when the cap takes that first huge jump. But the Bucks are 50 million-ish over the cap. Do your math accordingly as to who you think you're keeping and letting go and all that.
And the point you make, that I think the big thing you got to take out of this with the franchise tag is that second one, that 20%, the Gesicki's of the world, they're not coming back to Miami. It's just not cost effective. That's.
Oh, I mean, what do you have? 30 catches, and McDaniel wants his tight end who can block, and that's not Gesicki's strength. He's not even trying. So, yeah, I mean, he's clearly gone. Now, I'll say this. Could Gesicki be the Evan Ingram signing? Ingram had a lot more question marks around him than Gesicki does. And look at the impact Ingram made with Jacksonville. I mean,
Tampa, if you had some money, you could sign a tight end.
It wasn't that long ago. You had 3 of them. Anyway. So there you have it. You know what I was wondering? And it obviously didn't happen because Kellen Moore didn't leave the offices in Los Angeles and the Chargers gobbled him up. But the word was if he left the offices, he was going to Tampa. And I thought to myself, would he bring Cooper Rush with him? Like, if you're the Bucks, you're in transition here. You're probably going to go quarterback on the cheap. I mean, you got salary cap issues. I mean, are you going to go in-house? Kyle Trask, Blake Bortles. I mean, Mark, if you're a Bucks fan and they were selling you Blake Bortles or Cooper
Blaine
Rush,
Gabbert.
I'm sorry, I always get the
I know you
Giants
do.
quarterbacks
That's all right.
confused. Blaine Gabbert and Cooper Rush. You're a Bucks season ticket holder. Which one makes you throw up in your mouth a little less?
Cooper Rush.
Okay.
Cooper Rush. You? You said which one makes me throw up in my mouth a little less. I wasn't excited about either of them.
Cooper Rush. But I got to admit, I need a mint.
There's no doubt Listerine is in order.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Gargling is necessary, but these are the questions, by the way. I mean, these are the quarterbacks. We went through this exercise the other day.
Hey, if you're the Miami Dolphins, how much you willing to pay Cooper Rush? Come on now. Skylar Thompson's not the answer, and Tua's a huge question mark physically. And you can't blame the Dolphins. We all complimented them 10 months ago when they signed Teddy Bridgewater and made him the richest backup quarterback in the league. It didn't work out. That's on Teddy. I'm sorry. That's not on the Dolphins.
I'd pay him the same money I paid Teddy.
Oh, it's about 7, I believe.
Maybe 5 then. I mean, I'd try to do it for 5. I think that's a fair number for a backup.
Now, remember, you probably, there might be some for the Mike Whites and the Cooper Rushes of the world. Maybe they look at New Orleans, Tampa, those 4, 5, 6 teams, Carolina, who may not have a starter, and I have a legit chance to win the job.
Right. I would be selling them on what Brock Purdy did coming in. You're going to play in Miami. Even if I'm the agent, you're going to play in Miami. And look who you get to throw to in Miami. Look at the situation you're going to be in when you do play. Because you will play.
So some of the maneuvering, some of the news that's out there below the headlines yesterday involving the NFL. And the ACC releasing its schedule. Neither Florida State nor Miami plays Notre Dame this year in football. And they're going to the new scheduling. They're going to do it for 4 years. It's called the 3-5-5 format, getting rid of divisions. If you're an SEC fan, if you're a Big Ten fan, pay attention. This is a year or so ahead of schedule, but you guys are going to do it too.
What, early September for Clemson and Florida State?
Florida State at Clemson, September 23rd, 4th weekend of the season.
And they will have already played LSU in Orlando, right?
Yep, that's week 1, Labor Day Sunday, I believe. Miller and Moulton. We thank you so much for listening. Enjoy the final day of July. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network.
Ladies and